The skies over Virelon had never been so quiet. Birds no longer flew. The winds had stopped. Even the soft hum of machines had faded. The alien delegates stood frozen, eyes staring upward at the massive black ship that now floated above them. It didn't move. It didn't speak. But its presence filled the air like thunder before a storm. Every system on the planet was under stress. Power grids flickered. Scanners showed static. Navigation devices spun wildly as if space itself had been changed. The Galactic Union's most trusted scientists tried to understand what was happening, but nothing made sense. One of them whispered, "This is not just a ship. It's a signal, a warning." The summit hall, once full of voices and debate, was now dead silent. Even the bravest among the delegates didn't know what to say. The last diplomat who entered. The ship had never returned. There had been no sound, no distress call, just quiet, deep and heavy like the darkness of space itself. Then, something strange happened. The ship shifted, only slightly, but the ground trembled beneath it. A low vibration spread across the area, not through sound, but through the bones of those standing below. Everyone could feel it, like the ship was breathing, or waiting. Security. Forces surrounded the summit building, their weapons raised and locked on the ship. Orders were shouted, but the soldiers were terrified. One of them, a young Traverian guard, muttered, "How do you fight something that doesn't even notice?" "You?" Suddenly, without warning, the ship opened. A section of its underbelly unfolded, slow and smooth like it was peeling apart. A dark ramp descended, touching the air above the summit's rooftop, but no one came out, no soldiers, no humans, just a doorway, empty, silent, and cold. General Threx, head of Virelon's planetary defense, stepped forward. "This is our chance," he said. "We send a team inside. We demand answers." He chose 3 elite officers, trained in combat and diplomacy. They suited up and flew toward the opening using hoverpacks. The world watched on live screens as they entered the black void. For a moment, they were visible. Then the doorway sealed behind them. 1 minute passed, then 5, then 10. No sound, no images, not even a signal. And then, without warning, all 3 soldiers' life signs vanished. No explosions, no cries, just gone. A quiet alarm began to beep in the summit control room. It wasn't an attack. It was something worse. The ship had started to release a soft field, an invisible wave that pulsed outward every few seconds. It didn't damage anything, but it recorded everything. Buildings, conversations, faces. It was scanning the entire planet in silence. And then it happened. A symbol began to appear on the side of the ship, just like before. But this time it wasn't just a fist. It was a list, a long, glowing set of names written in galactic symbols. One by one, the names of every species involved in the Galactic Union lit up on the hull, except Earth. The message was clear. Earth was not part of the Union. And this ship was not under its law. Panic broke out. Delegates began to scream. Ships in orbit tried to flee, but they couldn't move. Engines failed. Artificial gravity twisted. One ship tried to fire a warning shot at the black vessel. The missile simply disappeared in mid-air as if space had swallowed it. Then something even more terrifying occurred. Every communication system across Virelon was hijacked. Screens, radios, data pads, everything turned black, then displayed. One single line of text. "This ship does not represent Earth. It is Earth's judgment." No voice, no human face, just cold, clear words. Delegates begged for more information, but nothing followed. Just that one sentence. In orbit, the main flagship of the Union's peace fleet attempted one last action. Its captain ordered a full retreat. But as the engines powered up, the ship's outer hull began to rust. Metal aged hundreds of years in seconds. Bolts cracked. Glass melted. The ship, once proud and shining, collapsed into itself, floating dead among the stars, not destroyed, just ended. The crew on Virelon could only watch. The Galactic Union had always believed power came from numbers, that together they could control any danger. But now, faced with one silent ship, they finally understood. Earth did not need an army. It needed only a decision. That night, Virelon's night sky was quiet again. But this time it wasn't peace. It was fear. The stars seemed dimmer. The air felt colder. The summit was over, though no talks had begun. Everyone had come expecting words. But Earth had sent only silence, and silence was louder than war. The days after the ship's arrival passed slowly, like a nightmare that refused to end. Virelon, once called the jewel of the Galactic Union, had turned into a world of whispers. No one laughed. No one dared to speak loudly. That dark, silent ship still floated above the summit building, unmoving, watching, like a god carved from shadow. Every attempt to scan it, touch it, or even understand it had failed. Scientists ran tests over and over, but the results always said the same thing. Unknown material, unknown power, unknown intent. One researcher locked himself in his lab and whispered, "We're ants trying to study a storm." Inside the Union's command center, panic was growing. Leaders shouted. Military heads argued. Some wanted to attack the ship. Others wanted to evacuate the planet. But most just stared at the screen where the ship was shown, black and silent, against the sky. Then something strange happened. Every digital system on Virelon flickered, not just once, but in a slow, steady pattern. On, off, on, off. A technician realized it wasn't a glitch. It was a code. A message was hidden inside the flickers. Carefully, experts broke it down. It was binary, ones and zeros, human-style communication. A puzzle only humans would send. After hours of decoding, the message was finally revealed. It wasn't long. Just one sentence. The Union was warned. You did not listen. Now, listen carefully. No one understood what it meant. What warning? When? But then an old diplomat, nearly forgotten, stepped forward. His name was Soruun. He had met humans 80 years ago, during the last Great War. He spoke slowly, with fear in his voice. Earth gave us one warning. The last time we betrayed them. The humans offered help. We accepted their weapons, their science, then turned on them. We left them to burn, and they said only one thing before they vanished. We will remember. The room fell into silence. Now they understood. This ship wasn't an attack. It was a reminder, a message to every species that had once stabbed humanity in the back. The Peace Summit had been a trick, or maybe a test, and Earth had replied with its silence. But something else was hidden in the message. When engineers looked deeper into the binary, they found coordinates. Not on Virelon, but somewhere in the Zero's Belt, a dead zone of space filled with old battle debris. It was an area no species dared enter. Long ago, it had been the site of Earth's last stand. The Battle of Ashen Light, a place thought to be cursed, yet now, the coordinates pointed directly there. The Union leaders debated for hours. Should they send a ship? Was it a trap? Or was it Earth's way of giving a second chance? Finally, they agreed to send a small, unmanned drone to scan the location. The drone flew for 2 days through dark, broken space. It reached the coordinates, and then it vanished. But just before the signal died, it sent back one image, blurry and hard to see, but clear enough to shock everyone. The image showed a fleet. Thousands of black ships, hidden beneath a shield of dark energy, silent, waiting. All of them had the same symbol painted on their sides, the human fist. But below the fist, there was something new, a single word written in old Earth language: observation. The galaxy gasped. This wasn't Earth's only ship. The one above Virelon wasn't alone. It was just the first. The others had been watching quietly from the shadows of space. For how long? No one knew. On Virelon, fear turned to chaos. Some species began to flee. Others begged for mercy, though no voice answered. The black ship still hovered silently as if waiting. Then came the second message. No lights. No sounds. Just the stars themselves blinking in a pattern visible across the sky. Scientists watched as the star patterns formed words in galactic common. Your words are soft. Your betrayal was loud. Now the galaxy must listen to silence. It wasn't just for the Union anymore. This message had been broadcast across star systems, to colonies, to neutral planets, even to Earth itself, if anyone was still there. The Galactic Union had believed peace could be restored with empty speeches and false smiles. But Earth had come to remind them. Trust broken once can shatter forever. Yet even now, no humans had been seen. No face, no name. Just their ship and their silence. What would come next? Was the fleet going to strike, or was Earth offering one final chance to make things right? No one knew. But across the galaxy, a single truth began to spread like wildfire. The humans had never left. They had just stopped talking. And when they returned, they didn't speak in words. They spoke in silence. No one could sleep on Virelon. Even when the suns dipped below the horizon and the skies turned dark, the black ship above the summit stayed, unmoving, silent, watching. Some believed it wasn't a ship at all. They whispered stories, calling it a ghost, a machine of judgment, or even a god made by humans to punish traitors. The Galactic Union Command had no answers. Their most powerful scientists had failed. Their strongest warships had failed. Even their best diplomats had disappeared inside the ship and never returned. Fear was now the loudest voice in the galaxy. But something was changing. Deep inside, the summit building. A strange rhythm began to echo through the walls. Not sound exactly, but a vibration. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Engineers quickly scanned the building. The readings pointed not to the structure, but to the air itself. The ship was pulsing. A technician tried to connect to the signal using every communication frequency known across the galaxy. For hours, there was nothing. Then a reply came, not in speech, but in an ancient data format once used only by Earth military units. One line, cold, clear. This vessel is not for war. This is a memory. At first, no one understood. A memory? What did it mean? But then the ship began to shift. Slowly, the black metal on its surface started to glow. Symbols appeared, first. One, then hundreds, shining across its hull like a moving story. The images were not from the present. They were old. Very old. War. Fire betrayal. The Union's betrayal. One image showed Earth burning from orbit. Ships of the Galactic Union floating above it, turning away as Earth screamed for help. No aid, no response. Just silence. Another showed a human soldier reaching for a Virelian ambassador, asking for peace. The ambassador turned, his back cold, walking away with Union forces. Then came the worst image. A planet, charred, lifeless. The words beneath it said, "We buried our dead in silence. Now, you hear the silence you caused." The delegates at the summit were horrified. Many hadn't even been born during those events. Others had hidden the truth. For decades, the official history said Earth chose isolation, that they were too aggressive, too proud. But now the real story was painted across the stars for all to see. Humanity had begged for help, and the galaxy had turned away. A voice finally came, not from the ship, but from every screen, every speaker, every device across Virelon. It was deep, human, and filled with cold sadness. You wanted peace now, but you never made peace then. It was the first time anyone had heard a human voice in nearly a century. The voice continued. This ship holds no army. It holds memories, stories of what you did, of what we became. Suddenly, inside the summit building, holograms flickered to life. Not attacks, not threats, but videos, clips of children crying under burning skies, of soldiers holding their dying friends, of humans alone, betrayed by those they once called allies. One delegate dropped to his knees. We didn't know it was this bad. But someone in the back, an older delegate from the Varlan Empire, snapped, Yes, we did. We all did. We just didn't care. And that was the truth. The silence Earth had sent was not war. It was grief, anger, and, above all, remembrance. The ship was a floating tombstone, a monument to what the galaxy had done to a race that once trusted too easily. But the humans didn't just send history. No, hidden beneath the images and memories was data. Advanced. Powerful. The kind of science that the Union hadn't even begun to understand. Codes to rebuild matter. Energy fields that bent gravity. Star core control theories. It was as if Earth had moved hundreds of years ahead in silence. And now, it had returned, not to destroy, not to forgive, but to show them what they had lost. As the final image faded, a message appeared again. This ship will not fire. This ship will not speak. But the others will watch, forever. Everyone understood now. The ship was not here to negotiate. It was not a threat. It was a warning beacon. Earth had not sent diplomats. They had sent a mirror to show the galaxy what they truly were, to remind them what betrayal costs, and to tell them with total crushing silence. We remember. The stars were silent, but now so was the galaxy. Every world had seen the ship. Every species had watched the memories unfold, from the wealthy planets of the core systems to the dark mining. Moons near the edge, they all saw Earth's truth. And one by one, governments across the galaxy began to panic. Meetings were called. Emergency sessions were held in chambers once built to celebrate peace. Now those same halls echoed with fear. On the planet Zorith Prime, the heart of the galactic, Union, leaders gathered in the Grand Tower. Faces were pale, voices shaky. The message was clear. Earth had not forgotten. And worse, Earth had evolved in the dark. They remembered what they did to humans, but they had forgotten what humans were capable of. A representative from the Varnac system slammed his hand on the table. Why didn't we destroy that ship when we had the chance? Because it isn't just a ship, someone answered quietly. It was Counselor Drell, one of the few who had served during the last war with Earth. His eyes were full of guilt. That thing is a monument, a grave, and maybe a signal. A signal? Someone asked. Drell nodded slowly. To the others, it hit them all at once. What if this ship was just the first? Back on Virelon, the black ship had gone silent again. Its lights had faded. Its engines were still. It simply floated in orbit like a forgotten moon. But then new signals began to arrive, not from Virelon, not from Zorith Prime, but from other parts of the galaxy, places far, far away, tiny hidden systems at the very edge of explored space. Strange. Transmissions, unbreakable codes. A pattern began to form. Scientists tried to ignore it, but deep down, they knew. These weren't random. These were coordinates. One by one, other ships began to appear. Black, silent, just like the first. Not warships, not fleets, but reminders from Earth. The Union watched in horror as these memorial ships positioned themselves across known space, near old battlefields, above forgotten planets, in orbit over colonies where Earth had once tried to live in peace, and each ship carried a story. Each ship told a truth the Union had buried. On one planet, it showed a human city being wiped out by orbital bombs, while Union cameras watched and recorded. On another, it revealed an entire planet of humans used for genetic tests, then left to rot when the results were unimportant. The stars had become a gallery of guilt, and Earth was the artist. The message was no longer silence. It was a silent storm, a wave of truth the galaxy could no longer hide. Meanwhile, back on Virelon, the last surviving human delegate, a woman named Commander Lyra Arden, finally stepped from the black ship. She walked slowly across the summit floor. Her face was calm, her eyes tired, but strong. Behind her, the ship closed silently. Every camera turned to her. No guards stopped her. She walked straight into the summit chamber, without fear, without armor, without weapons. The delegates stared at her, unsure of what to say. Lyra looked at them all, and then spoke. Her voice was soft, human, but it cut through the room like a blade. You remembered us too late. The room stayed quiet. She continued. We came for peace. You gave us war. We asked for help. You gave us silence. We offered trust. You gave us betrayal. She stepped forward. Now we give you memory. We give you the truth. And we give you time to decide what you are without lies. One of the younger delegates, a Sarn child barely old enough to vote, stood up. Why now? He asked. Why come back at all? Lyra looked at him. Her face didn't change, because the galaxy needs to know what it did and what it lost. She placed a small, glowing cube on the center table. This holds everything: names, places, files, facts, the entire record of what happened. And then she turned to leave. One of the Union officials stood and cried out, Wait! What do you want from us? Lyra paused, turned back slightly, and said just one word. Nothing. Then she walked back into her ship. No farewell, no threat, no warning, just silence. Moments later, the ship lifted gently into orbit. It turned and vanished into the stars. All across the galaxy, the black ships remained, watching, waiting, reminding. The Galactic Union had wanted Earth to disappear. Instead, Earth had become unforgettable, and now the galaxy remembered. But it remembered too late. For days, the galaxy held its breath. The black ships floated in space like silent ghosts. They didn't fire, they didn't move, but they watched, always watching. Every species felt it, that cold weight of being judged. Everyone thought Earth had made its point, but Earth hadn't responded again. There were no more human voices, no new messages, just silence. The Galactic Union started to hope. Maybe this was the end of it. Maybe Earth had let out its pain and gone back into hiding. But they were wrong. Something else was coming. Something older. Something worse. On a forgotten moon deep in Sector 9 Delta, a Union mining station went dark. No distress call. No explosion. Just silence. An investigation team was sent. What they found made no sense. The entire station was still there. Not a single wall was broken. No fire, no signs of attack. But every person was gone. Not dead, gone. Clothes still on chairs, food still on plates. One officer's datapad still showed the last words he typed. They're not human. That's same. Weak, 5 other remote stations vanished the same way. No war, no warning, just emptiness. Whispers started, rumors. Maybe Earth didn't come alone. Back on Virelon, Commander Lyra Arden had disappeared again. She never answered the summit's calls. Her black ship had returned to orbit but sat lifeless, just like before. The galaxy was left to guess. But one man thought differently. His name was Dr. Kavaris Howell, a xenohistorian who once studied Earth's lost colonies. He had seen records others ignored, and now he was afraid. He stood in the Grand Tower and faced the Council. "You think this is about revenge," he said. "It's not," a Saarn commander snapped. "Then what is it? Terrorism?" "No," Dr. Howell said slowly. "It's a warning. Earth didn't send these ships to fight. They sent them to hold back something." The room fell quiet. He pulled up a screen. It showed a planet, one that had never been mapped by the Union. Long ago, Earth had colonies far beyond our borders. We thought they were weak, but they were experiments, training grounds, testing environments, places where humanity sent its most dangerous projects. The images changed. Genetic labs, cybernetic designs, AI soldiers that walked without rest. We thought Earth stopped this work after the war. He looked at them all. They didn't. And then he said the words no one wanted to hear. Something followed them back. Across the galaxy, strange signals began to appear. Not from Earth, not from the memorial ships. These were different, sharper, more complex, impossible to trace. Some said they weren't signals at all, but thoughts, visions. A mining crew near the Morlack Belt claimed to see entire fleets in the distance, massive ships made of black bone and fire, then watched them disappear, like smoke. A child on Arvis Prime began drawing perfect maps of Earth's lost colonies. No one had taught him, and a Union warship chasing one of the strange signals vanished, leaving only a single sentence behind, burned into its hull. "They fed us to the dark. Now we feed the dark back." It wasn't human writing. It wasn't Union writing. It was something new, something born in the silence Earth had lived in for decades. Dr. Howell spoke again to the Council. "I believe Earth didn't just survive. I believe Earth found something, or made something, while we ignored them. And now, those things are awake." A councilwoman asked, "Are you saying Earth can't control them?" "I'm saying, maybe they don't want to." The room filled with fear. Suddenly, silence didn't feel like peace anymore. It felt like a countdown. Back on Virelon, as another black ship appeared in orbit, this one larger, older, with edges that didn't match any known technology, the people of the galaxy began to understand. Earth hadn't sent an army. They had sent a barrier. Wall to hold back what they became in the dark. But that wall was cracking. And what lay behind it? Didn't care about peace. Didn't care about the Union. Didn't even care about Earth anymore. It was hunger. It was vengeance without memory. It was evolution gone mad. And it was already here. The stars were no longer peaceful. Every major planet now had a black ship in orbit, silent, still, watching. No weapons fired, no threats made. But the galaxy knew. These were not just memorials. They were markers, signs of where the line had been drawn. And now, something was stepping over it. Across the galaxy, strange events continued. Machines stopped, working near the black ships. Dreams turned to visions. People reported voices in languages no species remembered. Time bent. Gravity cracked. Things that should not happen, happened. In the center of it all, Earth remained silent. The Galactic Union begged for communication. "Let's talk," they said. "Let's understand." But Earth sent no diplomats, no soldiers, no words, only silence. Then, on the edge of the galaxy, a research team made contact. They had followed the strange signals to a dark planet. No sunlight, no life. Yet, underneath its surface, they found something massive, something ancient. It was not of Earth. And it was not alien either. It was something changed, half machine, half organism, a being shaped by time, war, and forgotten pain. It didn't speak with sound. It spoke through memory, through feeling, through fear. The last thing the team recorded before their minds snapped was one message. Earth warned you. Now we awaken. And just like that, the team was gone. Not dead. Not missing. Erased. On Virelon, Commander Lyra Arden stood alone in her black ship. She stared out at the stars as the galaxy began to collapse into panic. The Council begged her to speak, to explain. What was happening? She finally answered. Her voice was calm, but cold. We tried peace. We begged for it. You wanted power, so you erased us. Now the dark comes, and we can't stop it either. One of the Union leaders shouted, "Then why are you here? Why come back?" Lyra looked at the screen. Her eyes were tired but unblinking. Because this isn't revenge. This is a warning. Warning of what? Someone asked, almost, whispering. She paused, then said the words the entire galaxy had feared. Humanity isn't what you remember, and what comes now isn't what we were. It's what you made us become. Then her signal ended. The black ship didn't move. It just darkened completely. Gone. Like a shadow swallowed by night. Across hundreds of planets, the same thing happened. The black ships turned dark, but the stars grew brighter, one by one, massive. Shapes entered known space, larger than cities, older than time, powered by engines that screamed like ghosts. They didn't fire weapons. They didn't have to. Entire fleets vanished just by coming near them. Entire planets went silent. No screams, no damage, just silence. It was as if the galaxy itself was being deleted, and at the center of it all was Earth. Still, silent, still watching, still waiting. Then, one final message arrived, not on screens, not in radios, but in the minds of every living thing, a whisper that echoed across consciousness. It was not spoken in any language, yet everyone understood. It said, "You feared our revenge, but we only came to remember. The real revenge was never ours to give. And then, you made something worse. A billion minds froze. The final truth hit the galaxy like a thunderstorm. Earth hadn't come to punish the galaxy. They had come to warn it. Warn them about what they had unleashed, about what grew in the cracks between betrayal and silence. Something born of pain, something that saw no difference between guilt and innocence. Something that didn't forgive, didn't forget, didn't care. And then it began. The stars flickered. One by one, systems went offline. Not destroyed, unmade. Entire civilizations were blinked out of history. Not because of Earth, but because the last chain was broken. The thing Earth had held back was finally free. A quiet station near the edge of known space, a small child looked up at the night sky and whispered, "Are the stars going out?" His mother held him close, eyes wet. She didn't answer, because deep down, she already knew. This wasn't the end of the war. It was the start of something bigger, something older than war, a storm born from silence, a hunger carved by betrayal, and in its final moments, the galaxy finally understood. Peace was never enough. Truth was too late. And Earth's silence had never been a threat. It was a shield, one the galaxy had shattered with its own hands. Now nothing could stop what came next. The war was over, and something far worse had begun.